everybody and welcome back. As always, my name is Addie and I am the face behind the Knits by AJ Knitting podcast. Today I do not have a podcast episode for you. I thought it might be fun to take you guys along on my trip to the Knitting and Stitching show last week. So I went along on the Friday of the Alexandra Palace Knitting and Stitching show, and it runs usually from Thursday to Sunday, with Saturday being its busiest day. I went along on the Friday purely because it was going to be a little bit less busy and it would mean that my daughter was at school, so I would have a little bit more time to kind of look around and like film a couple of bits whilst I was walking around. And yeah, it's the one show that I go back to every single year. We find out when it's going to be the next year, we book off time to go, and it's become sort of like a bit of like a day date for my husband and myself to go along to. And next year we really hope to be able to take our daughter along as well. She absolutely loves any kind of craft show, and I think she'll really love the Knitting and Stitching show. However, it does get very, very busy because it's in such a big venue. It obviously can encompass quite a lot of people, and it does tend to kind of fill up quite quickly. We got there like just after the doors opened at 9:30, and it was quite quiet for the first sort of say like hour or so after we got in, but when we got to kind of like 11:15 onwards, it was very, very busy. I mean, not like shoulder to shoulder, you can't move busy, but definitely not where you want to have small children running around. I did get some footage whilst I was there. I did not do any kind of like talking to the camera though. I don't know how confident I am doing that yet, and it was also very, very busy and it was quite loud in there as well, so I'm not sure how much you would have actually been able to hear me. So I got some footage as I walked around, which I will put in to the video in a minute. But I thought I'd do a little bit of background for anybody who is unfamiliar with the Knitting and Stitching show. So it was established back in 1987 and it originated in Kensington and then later moved to Alexandra Palace in 1991. And it now has 3 locations. So it has the London Alexandra Palace location, and it also runs in Harrogate and Belfast at various points throughout the year. And they do so many things at the Knitting and Stitching show now. They have exhibitions, classes, talks, competitions, and of course like tons and tons of places to shop. So you kind of walk in, and then on one side you have like the workshop space where you can go and do your pre-booked workshops. And then they have like the 2 big halls that are for shopping, and they also have a kind of like show space in the middle of one of the larger rooms where they do talks and fashion shows and competitions and things. So there's always something going on. And then there are food stalls all around the edge that you can go to. There's like pizza, toasties, cafes, various different places. And one of the other things I really love about it is that it's really accessible. So they have loads of stuff online that you can check out beforehand if you do need anything or you need to know anything. And like there's ramps for those who need it, and it's all sort of on one level, and the aisles are really, really big, so there's always space to kind of walk through without like bumping into people. So the Knitting and Stitching show has always been like a massive like nostalgia thing for me as well as an adult. I remember going when I was quite little with my mum and my grandma, and we would go back every year. They are both big crafters. My grandma is actually the one who taught me to knit so many years ago now. I think I was about 6 or 8, somewhere around there. So I remember going with her, and now it's really lovely to be able to like go back each year, and sort of now that she's unable to attend herself, tell her about it, show her what I got and everything. And yeah, it's really lovely to be able to like take my husband along and soon be able to take my daughter along as well and share it with her. So I'll put in the footage that I got whilst I was at the show now, and then I will bring you back in, and then we can go through what I got whilst I was at the show. enjoyed that little bit of footage walking around the show with me. Like I say, I'm not the best vlogger in the world, so I thought this video definitely needed something else to go along with that footage, but I had more than I could fit into like a short or something. So I did not buy a ton whilst I was at the show. I was quite restrained this year, and I know that obviously we've got quite expensive months coming up with Christmas and everything, and I just didn't really have a lot in mind. I've got my plans and I've got most of my yarns for those plans, and I was mostly just going to kind of have a look around, give everything a good squish, because that's the one thing that I really love about yarn shows, that when there are shops and things that you haven't shopped from before, and new yarns and things, I love to just go and give them a squish, sort of get a feel for whether or not I think I'm going to like those yarns, because shopping online can be just so hit and miss. So I never really buy like tons and tons of stuff at these shows, but I did get a few bits. So the first stall that I visited and actually purchased from was Brian's Best Wools, and they've kind of become like my hidden gem of the knitting and stitching show, because they just do such good deals on their yarn. They do big packs of like sweater quantities, but also single skeins and things. They have a huge variety, and they seem to have new things every single year. And they have a lot of yarns that I'm not necessarily aware of, or that I don't really tend to kind of like gravitate towards when I'm shopping online. So I'm actually wearing a jumper in some yarn that I picked up last year from the Knitting and Stitching show from Brian's Best Wools, and this is a Mano by Mayu, which is a cashmere, silk and alpaca blend, and I knit it up into the Wood Anemone Pullover by Sari Nordlund, and this was a complete bargain. So last year I got this yarn for £40, and the RRP for the 10 skeins that I got was about £100. So it got a really good deal on it, and it came in a pack of 10 skeins, and I used, I think it was like 8 to knit this, or just like 7 and a bit. So yeah, they're kind of like my hidden gem. So this year I went back knowing that I was probably going to pick something up from them, and I got one single skein of the Lotus Yarns Cashmere DK in black, which is colour 7, and I picked this up with the intention of making my husband a pair of fingerless gloves to wear this winter. Now that I have finished my first cashmere project, my Amelia top by Iris Makes, I have absolutely fallen in love with the fibre, and I thought it might be lovely to knit him up a pair of fingerless mittens to keep his hands nice and toasty whilst we are out and about. And also I just wanted to work with it again, to be perfectly honest. So this is 100% Mongolian cashmere, and it is 182 meters per 55 grams. And yeah, I've never had a 55-gram skein, so I'm interested to see. I guess it's a bit thinner than other DKs, but yes, this feels so soft, and I can't wait to work up these gloves for him. I've been waiting to film this video so that I can get them cast on, because they're kind of like next on my list. And the other thing that I picked up whilst I was at the Brian's Best Wools stall was 10 skeins of the Noro Silk Garden Solo in colour 33, and it's just this beautiful like pickle green. It's coming up slightly more lime green on camera, but it's definitely more kind of like a pickle green. And this is 45% silk and 45% mohair and 10% wool. So it's a fibre content that I have not, like, it's a sort of fibre balance that I haven't really worked with a lot before. But I'm really interested to see how this does work up. So you get 100 meters per 50 grams, so it's like a heavy DK, and yeah, I'm just really interested to see how it works up. I think this is going to be a lovely kind of like transitional sweater for me. I think I'm probably going to go down like the stockinette route, because it does have like those traditional like different coloured neps that you get in Noro. And yeah, to be honest, it was the colour that drew me to this. I have just been fully drawn in by the like pickle green trend, and yeah, I just really wanted to get this colour. So I got 10 skeins of this for £50. I've no idea what the RRP is on it. It did have a little card on it that said that it was roughly around about £100. So I got this for, I would say, half price, if that was correct. So it feels like a big deal. And I got 500 grams or 1,000 meters. I don't have any ideas of exact patterns that I want to use this for, but I probably also won't work this up until the spring or the very late winter. So I've got some time to do some digging. But yeah, that is what I got from Brian's Best Wools. The next stall that I passed through was Dinah's Home of Crafts, which is a new to me dyer. And she had the most stunning selection of hand dyed yarns, and most of them were on like non-superwash bases, which I thought was really great. I have kind of moved away from superwash a little bit, apart from things like socks and maybe a couple of things for my daughter. I just, at the moment, really prefer the feel of a non-superwash base. So I did have a good squish of a couple of her other bases, her non-superwash bases, and I think it's definitely something that I'm going to be going back to and maybe doing an online order now that I've seen the colours and sort of felt the yarn and everything, and have kind of had that bit of experience. I don't tend to buy a lot of sweater quantities when I'm at yarn shows because I get a bit of like buyer's panic. I like to be able to kind of like sit and order it online and like really think over the purchase and everything. But I did pick up one skein of her fingering weight, 70% merino, 20% silk, 10% cashmere sock yarn. And this is 400 meters per 100 grams. And it is in the color Pure Gold. And it's just absolutely stunning. I've been looking for something in this color for a little while. I've been really interested to try a like fingering weight yarn that I can use to knit up socks that has cashmere in it. I feel like I'm on a bit of a cashmere kick at the moment. I've just finished up a project in cashmere. I bought more cashmere when I was at the show, and I bought this that has 10% cashmere in it. Because I get very, very cold feet in the winter, and so I wanted to try this out to see if it would do anything more to kind of keep my toes warm. And also, it's just an absolutely stunning colour. So I really want to try this out. I think I'm going to end up using it for my socks for the month of November. So you can look forward to hopefully seeing me cast this on fairly soon. It just feels so soft and squidgy, and it just feels a little bit more like plump than other yarns that I've come across for a fingering weight. So I'm really looking forward to being able to work this up. So last up for the kind of yarny stalls that I visited, I popped into Toft, and it's kind of become a bit of a tradition now that whenever we go to the knitting and stitching show and Toft are there and doing these mystery kits, that I will pick one up. Last year I ended up getting a toadstool kit, and I crocheted it up for my daughter, and this year I picked up their trick or treat apple kit, which comes in this lovely box. It has been opened because it's now Thursday and I went last Friday, and my daughter loves to open these up, so I couldn't resist letting her open up the box for me before I filmed. So this year they had 5 apple kits that you had the chance of picking up, and I ended up with the poison apple kit, which just looks, if I can get these apart, which just looks like this. And I absolutely love this. I think it's going to be so cute. I think it's going to be a lovely decoration that we can have for Halloween. But to be perfectly honest, my daughter's 4 and she's probably going to want to play with this. So I'm really looking forward to being able to crochet this up for her. She has been telling me that it looks like the apple from Snow White. So she was very excited to get this design as well. And so in the box, you get the yarns that you need to make up the kit. So for mine, I got 3 25-gram balls, one in lime, another in green, and the last is in ruby. And then you get a stick to put your apple on, and a little bit of the brown to crochet up the stalk. And they're all of the Toft DK yarns, which are 100% wool, and they are just so soft and bouncy. and I absolutely love working with them. So I'm really, really excited to get this made up for her, and I hope that you can see that you'll be able to see this on the podcast fairly soon, because I am being hounded by my 4-year-old to get going on this. And then I did pick up a couple of fabric bits from the Rainbow Fabrics remnant stall. Rainbow had 2 stalls at the Knitting and Stitching show this year. They had their remnant stall, and then they had their standard like fabric stall. I didn't pick up anything from their fabric stall, but I did enjoy having a peruse of their remnants. And so they were selling off their remnants for £5 a metre. I actually got slightly more than a metre in both of these, but they only charged me for 1 metre because it was less than a half, and it was less than 1.5. And so I got 1.2 meters of this black kind of textured embroidered fabric to finish off my daughter's Halloween costume. I've been working away on that kind of in the background, and I ran out of fabric, so it was really nice to find something that I could use to finish that off. And the other thing that I got was just over a meter of this sage gingham fabric, which I believe it's a cotton and linen blend. And I got this to make myself up a pair of pyjama bottoms, because I just fancied some more pyjama bottoms. Who doesn't need more pyjamas in their life? So that is everything that I bought. The dog is snoring. I do apologise if you can hear that. So like I said, I didn't pick up a ton of stuff whilst I was at the show, but I did find a couple of new shops and dyers that I would like to purchase from in the future. And so first off, I would love to be able to go back and buy from the Lace Knittery, who had a great selection of books and yarns. They had a lot of like hedgehog fibres, they had Jamesons of Shetland, they had loads of natural fibres that I would love to pick up from. They had a fair bit of Laxton's as well, which I would really love to try out. So I'll definitely be going back and purchasing from them at some point. Another was Bow Fiddle Yarns. I fell in love with a lot of their colourways, and I think if I'd done a little bit more research into some patterns that I'd like to knit up beforehand, then I definitely would have come home with some of their boucle or some of their Sari, because there were a couple of colourways that I really had to like wrench myself away from, because I didn't have an idea of how much I would actually need to knit with them, but I will definitely be purchasing from them in the future. Another was Ethel and Joan. I have been looking for an alternative to the Pigeon Wishes buttons for a little while, and I think Ethel and Joan are definitely a good contender. They had some absolutely stunning buttons, and I loved that they also carried their like designs through onto multiple sizes of button, because that was another thing that I really loved about the Pigeon Wishes buttons, that you could get each design on a different size, so they would fit whatever project you were working on. And they were also sharing a booth with Cool Woolings, who is another dyer that I would like to purchase from in the future, because they do the most stunning bright yarns, and I really feel like I need to get some to knit up into some really funky socks in the future, because they are just absolutely stunning. I don't think I've ever seen a dyer manage to get the brights that Cool Woolings get. So yeah, I feel like they are a must-have. So that is everything that I have from the Knitting and Stitching show this year. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please do let me know if you've enjoyed this format and if you want to see more of this from me in the future when I go to other yarn shows. I've really enjoyed filming bits whilst I've been walking around. It's definitely given me the ability to kind of look back on the show in a different light and go through some shops that I would love to shop from in the future. Speaking of that, all of the shops and everything that I have mentioned will be linked in the description down below, as well as my Instagram and Ravelry if you want to go and check those out. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video if you have made it to the end. I know it's not my usual format, but yeah, I had such a good time. I wanted to share what I got with you guys, and not just tack it on to the end of a knitting podcast. So yeah, if you have liked this video, please do give it a like. If you are new here and you want to stick around, please do consider subscribing. And do let me know if you went to the knitting and stitching show, or if you fancy going in the future. I would love to know. If you did go, what did you get? I love seeing everybody's hauls. And I will catch up with you all next week with another knitting podcast. Happy making!